So here's an overview I want you to pay attention to. So when we talk about Form 1040 SR, we're speaking about U.S. tax return for seniors. So I want you to look right now on the screen here. This is how a Form 1040 SR looks like. So you put your first name, last name, right? You have to put your social security number. And if you are filing this with your spouse, you have to put your spouse's first name and last name also, as well as his or her social security number. And you have to put your home address. Pretty straightforward, nothing complicated here. So you have to put the street address, the town, the zip, the state, everything. Okay. And then if you want to really contribute to the presidential election campaign, you have to really check the appropriate box. And so this is pretty straightforward. And now let's move on to the next step here. You have the filing status. So you have to choose whether you have to choose a 1 out of 5 statuses, and whether from single all the way to a qualifying surviving spouse. And basically, one thing I want to say here is that if you actually did as I did here, like married, filing separately, you have to put your spouse's first name and last name. So this is just for the IRS to sort of reconcile the data that's been sent by your different spouses. And so now you have to actually fill out the digital assets line also if you actually engage in anything around crypto. And also the standard deduction here, if you want to itemize deductions, or if you want to use the standard deduction, so you have to again hit the appropriate section here. So that's the first screenshot. And so you also have to talk about the age. So we are speaking here about 1040 SR. So the IRS wants to make sure that you actually qualify as a senior. So you have to actually check whether or not you were born before January 2nd, 1959. And the second screenshot I want to show you right now on the screen here, you actually fill out the form from line 1A all the way through 6A. So we put 90,000. I mean, you can follow the math, okay? 90,000, 10,000, 100,000. That's the total income here. And the third screenshot here, as you can see on the screen, I'm showing you a Form 8919 because Form 8919 was actually referred to when we talk about Form 1040 SR. So I'm showing you what it looks like. 8919. I'm showing you another form here. This is actually Form 2441. This is again dependent care benefits. All this actually have data that flows through the Form 1040 SR. I want to show you another screenshot. That's the final one here. It's a Form 8839. Again, here we are speaking about employer-provided adoption benefits. Again, if you have some I would say some payments that really you should qualify as income, then you really have to apply those. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. And now let's move on here. So we have a line 7 from line 7 all the way through a line 24. Again, here we are speaking about a pretty straightforward process. So if there is any capital gain or loss, you have to really attach Schedule D. Don't forget here. And so basically, in our hypothetical example here, our total income is $100,000. Okay, $100,000. You actually put that amount all the way to a line 11. And so if you have to put your itemized deductions. So for our hypothetical example here, our itemized deductions amounted to $20,000. And again, it's if you really go that way, you have to attach Schedule A so the IRS can reconcile your data from one form to another. And if you actually qualify for the QBI, the qualified business income, you have to actually put that here. So 5,000. So basically, when you subtract 25 grand from 75,000, from 100,000, you have 75,000. And so tax and credits, we actually had about 25,000 for this year, 25,000 of taxes. So this amount goes all the way through line 24. Next, you want to see here, this is the payments. So if you owe, you have to actually see it here. So from line 25 all the way to 33, if you follow the math here again, Form W2, the payments the withholdings on Form W2, 15,000, Forms 1099, 7,500, and other forms 2,500. So your total taxes, your total withholdings this year, 25,000. And next, I want to show you the final screenshot here. this here, if you have a refund, this is where you will put it. You will put the routing number, the account number, everything. And if you owe this, so this is pretty straightforward. But don't forget, when you actually file form 1040 SR, you always have to sign and date, okay? And if you actually hire a third party, like a paid preparer, a CPA, an EA, or an enrolled agent, and a CPA, an EA, or a tax attorney, you have to make sure that that paid preparer also has to put his or her last name, first name there, as well as their PIN. So that's basically their professional tax identification number. So the IRS knows what's really happening here. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Form 1040 SR. This is about tax return for seniors. I want to give you the approach you need to really pay attention to when we talk about Form 1040 SR. See, the thing is that when we talk about this form has a pretty straightforward approach, really. Simplicity is actually a key feature of Form 1040 SR. In other words, this is designed to be less complex and easier to understand compared to the standard Form 1040. It uses a larger font size and includes helpful tips and instructions tailored to senior taxpayers. But remember that you have to qualify though, okay? You saw the date of birth. We are speaking about January 2nd, 1959. And also in terms of standard deduction, so Form 1040 SR incorporates a larger standard deduction for seniors, which can be really beneficial for individuals who may not have significant itemized deductions. And what we love about Form 1040 SR is that we love flexibility in terms of the income, the reporting of your income. So the form allows the seniors to report various types of income. And we are speaking here about wages. You have pensions, you have Social Security benefits, you have investment income, and you have rental income. You also have tax credits and payments. So seniors can actually claim various tax credits. So we are speaking here about the Earned Income Credit, the EIC, the Child Tax Credit, and the credit for the elderly or disabled if eligible. You got to be eligible. Okay. You can also, as a senior, you can also report federal tax withheld, estimated tax payments, and any refundable credits. And we also love the fact that there is a health care components to this Form 1040. And this is a topic that a lot of seniors care a lot about. So health coverage reporting. So Form 1040 SR includes a section for reporting health coverage, such as Medicare Part A, Part B, or qualified health insurance coverage through the marketplace. Again, it's one of those things where in the interest of transparency, for sake of transparency, you have to, it's important to really understand that not all seniors are required to use the Form 1040 SR, okay? This is pretty optional. You can choose to file a regular Form 1040 if you prefer, or if your tax situation requires more detailed reporting. The purpose of Form 1040 SR is to provide a simplified option specifically tailored to the needs of most senior taxpayers. So again, you have flexibility there. So when we talk about the Form 1040 SR, you are speaking about a tax form that really offers a lot of benefits, at least based on our calculations. What we love about this form here is that you have flexibility. I've said this before, but you also have the ability first of all, you have a larger print and readability, right? So you have the larger print size and increased spacing, making it really is easier for seniors with visual impairments to read and fill out the form accurately. You have a simpler format. So Form 1040 SR uses a simplified format, making it less complex compared to other tax forms. It really focuses on the most common types of income and deductions that seniors typically encounter, reducing the burden of excessive information. And what we love about this Form 1040 SR, I think I've actually touched a little bit upon it before. You have the standard deduction chart. So seniors who do not itemize their deductions can benefit from the standard deduction chart included with Form 1040 SR. So this feature eliminates the need for seniors to make extensive calculations and ensures they claim the correct deduction amount based on their filing status. You also have a highlighted retirement income sources. So the form specifically highlights common retirement income sources such as Social Security benefits, pension benefits, and distributions from retirement accounts. I showed you a little earlier all the ancillary forms Those may relate to Form 1040 SR. And what we love about this Form 1040 SR is that it really also makes it easier for seniors to identify and report their income accurately. You also have tax credit assistance. So Form 1040 SR provides guidance on available tax credits that seniors may qualify for, including the credit for the elderly or disabled. And so this is kind of cool. You also have easy to understand instructions. So the bottom line here is what the IRS is just trying to make sure that the form is as available to all senior taxpayers as much as possible. So when we talk about who is eligible to file Form 1040, again, you have the age thing, right? Of course, we are speaking here about January 2nd, 1959. So either you are that or blind. So if you have some kind of impairments, you could also qualify to actually file this form. But remember, it is pretty optional. You can choose not to have a Form 1040 SR. You can just have the regular Form 1040 when filing your taxes. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Form 1040 SR. Let me talk to you about the steps you need to really pay attention to when filing Form 1040 SR here. So first of all, you want to gather the necessary documents. So one thing I want to say here is that when we talk about Form 1040 SR, yeah, it's a pretty streamlined format, yes, but you still need to have some kind of documentation, especially if you need to back up certain claims. So we are speaking here about you having your W-2 forms, your 1099 forms. So when we talk about 1099 forms, we have a variety of 1099 forms. You have 1099 INT, 1099 D for dividends, Form 1099 NEC for non-employee compensation, Form 1099 so you have a lot of 1099s. So you want to fill out your personal information. And again, when we talk about personal information, if you remember a little earlier, you have the ability to choose whether you're filing Form 1040 SR for yourself or filing with you and your spouse. So married, filing jointly. And you have to claim the deductions that are applicable to your situation, calculate your taxable income. You have to determine tax liability and credits. And it's one of those things where you have to see what really works for you in your situation. You have to report payments and refundable credits. One thing I want to say here is that once you actually determine the preliminary tax liability and credits, you have to deduct your payments and refundable credits. So the payments are actually the amounts withheld throughout the year, or that you paid directly to the IRS throughout the year, if you are a quarterly payer or you are a monthly payer. And so once you actually deduct the payments and refundable credits from your tax liability and credits, you are able to calculate and report the final tax liability. That's what I showed you a little earlier. And then in the final analysis, you have to see whether or not you owe or whether you actually can expect a refund this year. So don't forget to review and sign the form and keep a copy for your records all the time. Let me give you special considerations when filing Form 1040 SR. The thing you need to really understand here is that you must be at least 65 years old or older by the end of the tax year. And so this form is not available for individuals who are under 65, regardless of their filing status. So the IRS just wants to make sure that there is a certain age bracket that you qualify for here, okay? And so one thing I want to say here is that when we talk about Form 1040 SR, this form provides larger standard deduction amounts for individuals who are 65 or older. And one thing you need to really understand here is that make sure that you want to check the latest IRS instructions, or even just reach out to a tax professional to determine the correct standard deduction amount based on your filing status and age. Age becomes very important when we talk about Form 1040 SR. And also, you have the ability to to choose a filing status that's applicable to you. And one thing I want to say here also is that you also understand that you have the ability to file the Form 1040 SR offline, online, or you can just do e-filing, okay? And the thing is that, again, today I showed you how to file the form offline. In other words, how to really do it manually. But you have the ability to go to the IRS websites and actually file the form online. So the IRS has a series of what they call IRS approved e-filers. and you just go through one of those organizations, and so you are able to file your Form 1040 electronically, or you could just use good old tax software. I'm talking here about H&R Block, TurboTax, TaxSlayer, efile.com, Jackson Hewitt. So you have a constellation of software that can really help you out when it comes to e-filing. And one thing I want to say here is that you have to really understand that it's just a lot better to e-file, whether you do it electronically or you do it through software, because that way you can avoid some mistakes, and you also have the ability to get your refund a lot faster, because the IRS processes refunds within 2 weeks when filing electronically. But if you have to file manually, I mean offline, your refund can be received within 6 weeks. So you can see the delta there from 2 weeks all the way to 6 weeks. There's a big delta. When we talk about filing form, like when you actually are thinking about Form 1040 SR, there are common mistakes that you need to really think about. You need to consider. First of all, you want to put the correct personal information. So I'm talking here about your name, your social, your address, okay? And also we are speaking here about math errors that you can also avoid. And also there could be some mistakes around the filing status. So you want to select the correct filing status, because it really determines in the final analysis your tax rates and eligibility for certain deductions and credits, okay? So you want to review the filing status options carefully and choose the one that accurately reflects your situation. And also, do not omit income. You want to report all your taxable income. So because again, you do not want to really trigger the ire of the IRS. You do not want that, okay? So we're talking about income from all sources. We are speaking about wages, self-employment income, pensions, retirement account distributions, interest, dividends, and capital gains. And also, you don't actually, you want to have the right bank account information as well. And anything that you put on Form 1040 SR, please review everything. You want to review the whole form before actually hitting the submit button. One thing I want to say here also is that you need to understand that you have to also consider state tax obligations, because this Form 1040 SR is at the federal level, but you may need to actually file also a senior tax return at the state level. And so it's one of those things where in any case, if you need additional help, it's always better to reach out to a tax professional, or you could just let us know in the comment section. Just ask your questions, but let us know the city and state you're actually commenting from, so we know exactly how to contextualize the answer we gave you. And so answer questions, or just reach out to a tax professional, again, a CPA, an EA, or a tax attorney to kind of help you out navigate the subtleties of the Internal Revenue Code this year. So this is pretty straightforward. So Form 1040 SR is not a complicated tax form, but it requires some detail, some attention to detail. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. Let's quickly do a recap here. So I was talking to you today about Form 1040 SR and SR for senior citizens. And I give you the overview, the approach, the bonus, the steps, and now the recap. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.